Welcome to the Gold Split Podcast.
And welcome back to the Gold Split Podcast. My name is CCNeverender, and I'm here with my co-host,
Squidbird.
And today we have our special guest. Insert name.
TiKevin83.
There we go. I was going to ask you, how do you introduce yourself? That was one of the questions I was going to ask you before we got started, but I wanted to hold off on it.
Oh yeah, this is a complicated one, isn't it? Because my name can be pronounced so some people in the task Discord call me TiKevin. That is objectively wrong. So,
that is actually way bad.
It's not split at Tyke and then Vin. It's TI, but I usually just say Ty like titanium, and then Kevin83.
Right, because I believe it's based off of TI-83, which is the calculator, right?
Yes.
Okay. But then where does Kevin come from?
Okay, so that's good. Good question. Because my name is not Kevin.
Yep.
It's Travis.
Yep.
Kevin is the name of the person who owned the Pokemon Emerald card that my friend Brad had when we were growing up. So whenever I played Pokemon, I would be Kevin. Hence, I am now TiKevin83 from Pokemon Speedrunning.
Interesting. It is very interesting lore you have there.
Yes.
So now whenever you play Pokemon at all, you're always Kevin?
Yes.
Like casually, you always pick Kevin as your username?
Yeah. And also, I wrote some TI-83 programs that were kind of innovative. And the alias I used was Kevin Johnson because the most generic name I could think of. So, yeah.
The most generic one I could come up with was Christopher Brown.
I figured a high schooler writing TI-83 programs on the internet probably should be using an alias.
Yeah. Those are the early days, you know. You can't use your real name on the line. Nowadays, it's like, hey, here's like everything about my life. Here's what I had for lunch. Here's where I live. This is my room. This is all the stuff I own. It's like, oh, damn. Now we have a problem with too much sharing. Okay, well, so TiKev. I always call you TiKev, but TiKevin. What do you do? You are a prominent yellow speedrunner and tasser, right?
Prominent might be stretching it.
Okay. Well, you're the only one that I know, so I have to tell you, you're the most famous yellow tasser and speedrunner to me. So.
I'll take that. So yes, I moderate the Pokemon speedrunning Discord.
Okay.
That's part of what I do, and then I am the lead for a lot of the Gen 1 tassing. I wouldn't say I'm the tasser because they're all like collaborative projects. Lucky Typhlosion does a lot of the glitch routing, GIFX does a lot of the emulator fixing, and he also did Blue Tass himself. And Stringflow has done a lot of the work figuring out how to bot out different paths for manipulation of RNG. So it's a really collaborative effort, is what I'm saying. So I'm kind of more like heading that up and writing some of the end result, documenting tasks, things like that. That's what I've been doing lately. And I also have a lot of RTA work that I've done. I've been as high as 3rd on the Pokemon Yellow leaderboard for RTA glitch lists. And I have 6th right now in RTA glitch lists.
Okay.
And world record is by Gunner Maniac, right?
Is it right now the 154.01? I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a lot of the routing that went in when we switched over from our in-game time to RTA. So, yeah.
There you go.
You mentioned earlier that you were programming stuff on the TI-83 calculator.
Yes.
Was that your first sort of introduction into programming and stuff that kind of led you into tassing, or what's your background with how you got into it?
That's a really complicated question. I have a long background with programming. So in middle school, I was doing TI-83 programming, and in high school. And my sophomore year of high school, I did a Java research project with a local college, and it was published in a bioinformatics journal for work on some stuff with modeling genetics in Java.
Goodness.
So, yeah, that was fun. I have a lot of programming background, but not so much with emulators or Pokemon. So I had to convert that a lot, and it was mostly in college. I was looking for more of a hobby, and I didn't want to be doing League of Legends. I'd been doing League of Legends, and I hated that. Community was not fun.
And former League player here.
So somebody else can identify that. That's good.
Yeah.
So I moved from playing games as like a way of just having fun to trying to do it as also like a research project and trying to stream the research I was doing. But I was doing it mostly for glitchless and RTA at that point. When I started out, probably 2.5 years ago now, I was really interested in the glitchless and doing it in real time, doing it on stream, having viewers, having people to talk to. That takes a lot of time, and it's also really hard in your hands, repeatedly resetting. So after a 1.5 years doing that, I started moving into tassing, and I've been doing that since last January.
Only last January.
Yes.
Wait, so that would be just 11 months at this point, right?
Yeah, only about 10 months. And
Goodness.
the main reason that's been so short of a time, and I have tasks out there, is nobody else has done the tasks that I've been doing. There was a real shortage of information on how to task Pokemon Yellow glitchless, Pokemon Blue glitchless, Pokemon Yellow no save corruption. So I've been writing a lot of the documentation as I've been doing them. So
interesting.
Yeah. And part of the transition there, 10 months ago, from going from RTA to TAS was I found a glitch. It's called the fast options glitch.
Right.
That I've been talking about in some of my recent passes, where you can press left at the same time you press A. I have a really great clip of me finding that on YouTube, and I was dumbfounded. I stopped talking completely in the video for like 30 seconds before I even say like what is going on, because I'd never seen anything like that before. I'd never found a glitch that nobody knew about until then. So when I found I wanted to figure out why it happened. So I had to look at the code, and starting to do that got me back into the whole programmatic tasking aspect of playing Pokemon.
As far as games, as far as games that you could start with to learn that, I think Pokemon, the first gen, is like one of the better ones. Mainly because I think don't you guys know like everything there is to know about Pokemon at this point? Like in this phase, like you know all the code and stuff, right? Like you can dump that cartridge and you can know all the memory values.
Yes. Well, the way I would explain it is we have a disassembly. Both of the main Gen 1 games, the red, blue are the same apart from palettes, and then yellow. We have disassemblies of those games. What that means is we have English readable versions of most of the code, so we understand what it's all.
And you have such a good blueprint or whatever you want to call it, like good structure, a framework to work with, where I think that makes it a lot easier. Whereas like if you just went into the fray and picked a random game on speedrun.com and then try to maybe look at the memory values for that, you'd be just out of luck.
You end up having to do it yourself basically, because you have to use things like a cheat engine of sorts or a memory viewer to figure out what the relevant memory values are and watch them.
Right. Which is crazy.
Yeah, so I'm not having to start from there. We've already done all that research. We know the memory values associated with different events, and we know what messing with them can do. But we still find little things. Like, so there was a second glitch now that I found independently just last week, tassing. We figured out that the first animation in Pokemon Yellow that happens when you catch a Pikachu with Oak, there's like a transition, a screen wipe effect when you go into a battle, and which one it picks depends on your Pokemon's level and the opposing Pokemon. level. But when Oak's catching a Pikachu, you don't have a Pokemon yet.
Right.
So it reads from invalid memory, like memory that doesn't exist yet. It's not been set up yet. And it happens to be the area of memory that you put your rival name in temporarily when you're setting it up.
Oh, so you can use that to affect the type of transition you get there.
Yes. So we
So you
actually
can
just
save some amount of
discovered
frames.
a second glitch now that I found last week, where if you write 5 characters and then delete them in the glitch list task, then you would save 10 frames overall, because you would lose two frames per input, and it would take 10 inputs, and then you'd save 30 frames back later. So you'd net 10 frames saved.
Wow.
That's
wild.
optimization. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane, right? Like
Yeah.
and we have to know so much more about the game. We have to have all the background to be able to find stuff like that.
Do you think having this kind of like crazy level of optimization, do you think that helped you raise, get from essentially no tasking to having multiple tasks done and having improved upon tasks even just recently? I saw you had like a 10-second improvement on the yellow task, or a 6-second or something like that.
Yeah, we had a 12-second improvement.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that, I guess one of the reasons why you would say that you could get to that point is because you have good programming knowledge and all the knowledge that we know about the game itself.
Yeah, I think that's totally an accurate statement.
That's crazy.
Whenever
Speaking of which, go ahead.
Whenever you find glitches, do you have an idea of what you're trying to find, or is it just something that you stumble upon?
Both the things I've found are things that I've stumbled upon. Now, this is not entirely true for the other people in the task setup. So I mentioned people like Lucky Typhlosion, okay, and Gifex. Gifex found everything that he wanted to find in blue because he had a goal that he wanted to get the blue NSC time below 10 minutes in the RTA timing. So from when you hit new game to from when the screen goes to white in the Hall of Fame, he wanted that time below 10 minutes. So he kept looking for things and looking for things and looking for things until he got it that low. He just didn't stop, and then he published it when he got it that low. So that kind of shows how it's not so much that we found everything; it's that we've looked at it to the extent that we wanted to get certain times, and we haven't found anything more yet. But maybe that's also because we haven't been looking further.
Yeah, I guess that's usually the way glitches work. Is that either what I always find interesting is, like, I remember every once in a while I'll go into a stream and I'll talk to the guy, the streamer, the runner, and I'll just be like, so what are some of the theoretical time saves that we have? It's like, oh yeah, if we could find a way to glitch into this thing sooner, or find a way to do this here, then we would be able to do this. And I've always thought it's very interesting how people just assume that there are glitches like that, because it's entirely possible the game is coded in such a way that you will never be able to do that kind of thing. But people are just kind of like, if we can, and it's not always, and usually they find that kind of stuff. Like in particular, I remember talking to Almo for TTYD, Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. And one of the time saves I asked was, and he was like, oh, if we can find a way to get into Twilight Town in this chapter instead of that chapter, we would save this much time here and there. And I was like, okay, do you think that's possible? He goes, yeah, I think it's possible. We just need to find like this one thing. And then I remember like a month after I asked him that question, I saw a video or a thread on it where like, oh, we found a way. If we do like a double frame perfect, like spin jump, or what do you call it? The seat drop, kind of like the ground pound. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. If you do a double frame perfect ground pound thing at the end of a combat, you can get a second jump and then do it again. And then you can get on top of like a ledge that's really way too high, and you have just enough room to get in there, and then you can get into the area before you're supposed to. And I'm like, I wish, it's such a cool thing for someone to have say, I have an idea of a glitch, and then I'm going to look for a way to make it possible, and then like manifest it, which is kind of like what you're doing.
Yeah, and we're doing that same thing. Yeah, we're doing that same thing still with the yellow NSC tasks. I have StringFlow looking right now at a different RNG setup that would potentially save time with the party swaps we do at the end of the route. So it's totally true that we've also got these things in our mind of what we could do with better RNG, better knowledge of other tricks, like you were saying in that game, movement tricks like ground pound. So we have these things mapped out of what we could do as well.
Yeah. And then every once in a while you just stumble across something. It's like, oh, hey, that's super useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you work with the game a lot, you start to realize what the bounds of the game are, like what you expect. And then it's also easier to notice when things are not doing what you expected. But it can also be harder on the flip side to make the game do things that you didn't expect because you're working within those bounds more often.
Yeah, I think even just recently, like I think Cheese was playing SM64 and he was collecting coins, and then somehow one of the coins disappeared, and he was like freaking out, like, where did the coin go? Where is it? And then Pan and Koic did a special video on it, and he's like, well, you see, the game is programmed in this way, and there's fail safe, so if this happens, but there's one particular instance where those two fail safes like overlap, where they don't catch it, right?
They don't work perfectly.
Yeah. So because the ground is a certain thickness, right? Like it has a certain depth to it, and coins can move at a certain speed. Technically, if a coin is moving at just the right speed, it has just enough. It can cover just enough distance per frame to skip the ground. But that's like assuming that it checks like right before it hits the ground and checks again after it hits the ground or after it's below the ground. But there's a check where if it's within a certain distance under the ground, it gets placed back up on top, right? To prevent that from happening. And there's also something similar with water, where if it lands in water, it does the same thing as well. But in Cheese's case, it was like on a beach. So the coin went through the ground, but then into water. And because of that, it didn't check. It just kept going underneath.
Yeah, it was like the combination of the slope with the water, allowing it to get through both.
Yeah. It's crazy that we have that kind of outside knowledge of just playing the game enough that we know that's how this game works.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool to see how the relationship between like tassers and speedrunners is, because a lot of times something will happen in a speedrun which then gets a tasser to figure out what exactly happened, and then that might lead to to a different avenue where they discover something that could help their task run. Whereas like vice versa, you could have a tasser find a strat that a runner will try to make RTA viable. And I think that relation is really cool. How often do the tassers influence the RTA runs in Pokemon?
Are you just asking in general?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that often. It's kind of been split, and also the task strats that happen in Pokemon are often very much things that you cannot do in RTA. I'll do, for example, my Yellow Glitchless run. We don't use X accuracy because we have no need to make our accuracy perfect, because we can choose whether or not we hit any given move. And then we also can choose when we want to crit a move and we want to not critical hit a move. So
is that just like the frame that you select the move on is like the frame that determines?
Basically, it's more complicated than that, but at a very basic level, you could say yes, the number of frames since the console's been on will change that.
Right. That's the kind of crazy stuff that you can't have any sort of RTA set up for.
So it's not as common in Pokemon for knowledge to leak between the two communities, because the strategies that are employed are so different. We're on completely different gym orders. We're doing different move uses, all these things, because of how differently the game plays in tasks. Like in a platformer, you still have to get from point A to point B with the same jumps. But it'd be like if there's a jump that you could use and 10% of the time you would go way higher, and you can choose every time you want to use that jump. I don't know if there's a good parallel in platforming for something like that.
I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. When was the last time that an RTA Pokemon runner influenced a task? Like, and I guess in a sense, did they find anything? I guess because you said you found the fast options things, right?
Yeah, okay, so that was a thing that I was found during RTA speedruns tasks.
Yeah.
The thing that Swaff found for instant text that definitely will influence the task when I do that in blue or red, because nobody's ever done a blue quote-unquote glitchless speedrun with instant text.
Isn't that considered a different category?
No. Would you like
It's
me
not.
to elaborate on the status of instant text and why it's a glitch?
Sure. I could have sworn I saw something about it, but go ahead and keep me up to date.
So what happened is people said that instant text is not good for Pokemon glitchless speedruns. And that was totally accurate. The problem was it wasn't a very accurate thing in terms of defining glitches consistently in Gen 1. Pokemon is so buggy that we have to use an extremely restrictive definition of glitch to make a consistent definition of a glitchless category.
Right.
For instance, when you use a move after beating, it will get a 9/8 boost to your attack from having Brock's badge. That boost is reapplied anytime your stats change for a bug. It's strictly a bug. You get the 9/8 boost over and over again. If you get hit by a string shot from a Caterpie, another 9/8 attack boost. If you were trying to actually play quote-unquote glitchless, then you would have to not have that happen. But you obviously can't avoid getting hit by string shot throughout a whole speedrun. You fight tons and tons of Caterpies. So the usual definition of glitch, where the game is doing something that the programmers didn't intend, it doesn't work at all because the game is doing so many things that the programmers didn't intend.
Yeah. There's so many holes, there's so many pockets that there's no way that it's not like the player's fault. It's just how the game is playing.
Yeah. So we end up having to be a little more restrictive. So the way we define it is we don't let any glitches happen where memory is used in a way in two different ways. So like one example is I think the Brock through walls glitch. You like stand in a place that the game doesn't expect you to, and so it starts reading from RAM values that were not intended to be directions. They were intended to be things like a Pokemon you have's HP or number of moves it has left of a move like Tackle or Growl.
Yeah.
All the other data. So that if a piece of data is defined to be used in two different ways, and you can't use it in both the ways to cause a bug.
Right.
Instant text is not that. There is a flag that sets how many frames of delay you have for your text, like 1, 2, or 3 for fast, medium, or slow. And normally, it can only ever be 1, 2, or 3. But in some, it has to turn it to 0 so it can display the mark perfectly, and then set it to 1s to scroll some text from the character. Where's it going with this? So when you leave the mart, it goes back from the 0 frame setting to the 1 setting. This is all just using one piece of memory. It's never used for anything other than the text speed. And the programmers simply in the bike shop forgot to write the code to change it back from 0 to 1 when you leave the mart and there's normal text again.
Right.
So
you're not manipulating it in two ways. It's just you set it to 0, and then the game forgets to unset it, and then you just keep it.
Right. So you're not you've not then created an entry point to do anything you want with the game.
Right.
You only have access to the 0, and the programmer clearly intended to do that because every other point in the game, you don't it's like copy paste section of code basically. You go into Mart, you leave it, it sets a thing from 0 to 1. So the fact that it's not there is maybe it's a bug, but
Yeah.
we can't use it in our glitch list definition because it doesn't fit everything else. Now, the practical upshot of all that is that we did another vote. So we did one vote and we got rid of instant text and glitch list because it was really, really bad for the game. It was too hard to finish runs. People weren't having fun playing the game with instant text. Then we switched from RTA or in-game timing and speed runs for Pokemon to RTA timing. And the practical effect that had was people were finishing runs again. It's really easy to finish RTA runs because you can use manipulated iterans. And you can save and restart all the time. So people were finishing so many runs now, well, maybe instant text isn't a big problem. And then we looked at it from this programmatic standpoint of it's not really a glitch the way that we have banned other glitches. So we shouldn't ban it. And we voted and decided not to ban it anymore.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think the rules are in a better state because it's a very consistent definition of glitching.
That's good. I always hated the definitions of glitchless stuff.
It's very it's very rules intensive. So you have to care a lot about the rules of the game and not just playing. So it's kind of esoteric and boring.
Yeah. We recently had a spat over in so I occasionally do Stardew Valley speedruns.
Okay.
And so they have multiple categories, and one of the things that I don't like about Stardew Valley runs is that the most popular category is just regular 80% or just it's called glitches. There's glitches and glitchless. And so one of the things that they found was that you can essentially anytime a name is used, like it executes code, and you can put an item value where a name slot would go, and anytime the game says that name, it just spawns those entities. Oh. It's really weird. So if you name your character like the item value for like the most expensive item in the game, anytime a character says your name, it just spawns in your inventory. So the metagame became let's find all the values for all the items, and then let's find ways to make people say all these and get all the items as fast as we can. And one of the ways you can do that is like you name the animals and you just go buy an animal, put it in your bench, and then sell the animal, but do it again, just over and over and over again. Just buy an animal, name it something, spawn all the stuff, and then and so it became very it was really boring because a game that normally takes several hours to get anywhere, you could beat in like 2 minutes now. And while that's a really technically really impressive and really cool, it became really boring. Like you skip the entire game. It's kind of like save corruption in Pokemon. It's like that's not really a speed run. You kind of did some cool technical aspects where you manipulated things just the right way to beat the game in like literally like 1 second or something. Right? Is it?
Yeah, it's a category that it's not 1 second timing by game time, but it's a few minutes of RTA. But yeah, it's I get your point. It's a category that's so broken that it defeats the purpose of anybody who was originally speedrunning before.
So I never really liked the glitches category. I wanted to do glitchless, so I was considered glitchless my main category because it was the one that you actually play the game. And recently they found a glitch. I'm going to call it a glitch. They found this thing where apparently there is a leftover bit of like debug code or something where if you hit like interact while you're about to go to sleep. So I don't know if you played Stardew Valley, but it's like Harvest Moon, and you go and you wake up in the morning, you do your stuff for the day, go back in bed. It says, "Do you want to go to sleep for the day?" And then the fade scrolls. Screen fades to black, and then the next day it saves, and the next day starts. And so if you hit interact, like right when the screen goes dark, and you hold it, like you hear like a text box kind of sound come up and then go through, and then the next day loads without it saving, which is a little bit faster. And it's called I can't remember if it's save skip or sleep skip. It's one of those. And And so they're like, well, we looked at the code because apparently it's like not really protected. It's like XML or something. They can like pull up and read the exact code of the game. Kind of like with Pokemon, they actually know all the code and stuff. They can see it, and they look at it and like, oh, well, there's this leftover line of code where it's like this is still in the game. So because it's in the game, we're gonna say it's not a glitch because we don't know if it's intended or not. And that always made me frustrated because it's like, well, just because it's in the game doesn't make it, a glitch or not a glitch. You can say that with anything. An Ocarina of Time is wrong warping, not a glitch. Well, you didn't, it's still in the game. You didn't inject your own code. You're just, is that a glitch or not? And they're like, no, that's just not the same thing. We think it's an intentional thing. I'm like, do you really think it's intentional for you to not save? That's the only way the game saves is for you to go to sleep. You think the game is not supposed to save? Like, that's not an intentional thing. That's not a mechanic that's ever taught to you or anything like that. And I always hated that fact because we would look at it and we would have this big argument, and they're like, no. We look at the code. Because we look at the code, it looks like it's intentional, so we're going to call it glitchless. And like, that's really dumb. It's really frustrating because one of my buddies who does glitchless, before that was found, he actually had a world record, and someone stole a world record using that trick. And so it became like a matter of contention because it's like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, like categories that are defined as a glitched or glitchless, it's always like really difficult to make the rules for that, as y'all said. And like in Mario, like obviously there's tons of glitches in the game. And what I like about it is that they just divide it up into like you have 1 star, 0 star, then 16 star, 70 star, and 120 star. And if you read the rules, each of those categories has their own allowed and not allowed glitches that you can perform. And it makes it less like aggravating, whenever like a new glitch or something would pop up. And because like I'm just thinking about your friend that had a world record stolen by that, and that not being classified as a glitch.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a glitch. Like it's like it. You can't say that a developer intended their game.
We won't get further into it, but yeah, that was our argument the whole time. Was like, there's no way this is a thing. But I do like the way that the SM64 is set up because it's like, like long LBLJs or BLJs are banned in which one? In 70.
Yeah, in 70. So like 70 star, you can't do BLJs, but you can still do stuff like pillarless. You can basically it's like no major glitches kind of thing. And like 16 stars, like you can do LBLJ, but you can't do the stair BLJ in the basement because that's what makes 0 and 1 star possible.
It is an interesting
makes sense
category descriptor, because it's not just like play how you want and get 70 stars.
Yeah.
You can't do this.
Yeah, they're all in some way intended to be making the game more like the way you played it when you were a kid, but still having it be a speedrunnable category.
Yeah.
So, and we also have a recently in Pokemon we split category for glitchless into classic and not classic because the Japanese community is completely different for Pokemon speedrunning. There's people who play on Japanese cartridges, and they also had their own rule set. So we did this kind of like community sharing thing where we implemented a category following their rule set, but using the English cartridge. And they also, likewise, Japanese cartridge now created a category for people playing by our rule set. So
that's really cool.
You can see all those times on the speedrun.com leaderboard now.
That's good. That's good cross. What's what I'm looking for? Yeah,
it's a good solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have some segments we wanted to get into.
Yeah, do you want
Sure,
me to do this
go
one
for it.
first, CC? All right, so TiKevin, I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
It's called Who's That Pokemon?
Oh no.
So what I did,
Oh no.
what I did was I pulled up some Pokedex entries from the yellow version, and I'm going to read out the Pokedex entry, and I want you to name me the Pokemon it belongs to.
This is not going to go well. By all means.
We're going to start off with some easy ones, like the the description itself is pretty much like the name of the Pokemon. So we'll start off easy, and then we'll kind of ramp it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So the first entry I have here is leaps out of tall grass and slices prey with its scythes. The movement looks like that of a ninja.
I'm going to have to go with Scyther,
Ding, ding, ding.
considering that the word scythe was in the Pokedex entry.
I just saw that one. I was like, this is a good one to start with.
Okay, yeah, that's a freebie. I'll take it.
All right,
I'll take
here's,
it.
And you gave it away. You said it was in
Yeah.
the name. So.
here's another one that's not too difficult. Hardens its shell to protect itself. However, a large impact may cause it to pop out of its shell.
Ooh, see, this is. I think we're gonna have to go with Metapod
Ding, ding,
because
ding.
Kakuna would have to be something different, but it could have been.
Yeah, that could have gone either way because they both just spam Harden all the time.
Yes.
All right.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be Arden or Kakuna or Metapod. But okay, next one.
A gentle soul that can read the minds of people. It can ferry people across the sea on its back.
I'm gonna have to go with Lapras.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I think if because of that last little section, it kind of gave it away.
Yeah, I was stumped at
Yeah.
first, and then the last one I was like, oh,
Yeah, the second section makes it a bit easier.
I saw the anime. I know what it is.
Well, we get it in the glitchless run. We get Lapras.
Nice.
All right. It is said that this Pokemon lives somewhere in the sea and that it flies. However, it is only a rumor.
In the sea. Let's go with Articuno.
Oof. It was actually Dragonite.
Oh, okay. That's fair because they're from the same caves. Those you get the Dratini in the what do you call them? Seafoam caverns.
Seafoam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is I was worried though because that you don't interact with that all in the speedrun. And I haven't played these outside of the speedrun in so long.
Yeah, I thought that would be like a fun way of like bringing the game in. Because like I rarely look at the Pokedex entries now when I play Pokemon. I just kind of like play through it and like. But yeah,
It's a shame how that works.
yeah.
But yeah.
So
Someone sat down and wrote all that flavor text, and we're just like, nah, let's get back to the game.
yeah, gotta grind the eggs. All right. A Pokemon with a one-track mind. Once it charges, it won't stop running until it falls asleep.
Ooh, I remember reading this one.
Running. Oh.
I very distinctly remember reading this flavor text at some point in my life.
I'm gonna go with Rattata.
It is Rhyhorn.
Okay.
I was thinking right on, yeah. I don't know. It was, yeah. It's good.
Commonly found near mountain trails. If you step on one by accident, it gets angry.
Pretty sure.
Oh,
that's
I think that one's Geodude.
one.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That one, I think it feels reminiscent of how Snap works, where you have to like hit Geodudes to make them spawn off the mountain.
Yeah. They're just holding on. You had him with the pester in there.
Yeah.
All right, we got about 4 more here.
Oh, okay.
Not done yet.
A Pokemon that can memorize anything. It never forgets what it learns. That's why this Pokemon is smart.
That's him.
I just
RT.
like
This
it.
one's smart.
Okay. So I don't think it's Alakazam because Alakazam says something about its IQ. Is it Kadabra?
It's actually Alakazam. So the one that you're thinking about, it is Alakazam, but it's in red and blue.
Oh.
So in red and blue, it says its brain can outperform a supercomputer. Its intelligence quotient is set to be 5,000.
See, I'll tell you exactly why that's wrong. Because IQ is defined as the median intelligence of a human at 100, and then a standard deviation being 15 from that number. So what that would be saying is it would be like, what, 4,909 or 4,900, like some absurd number of standard deviations away from the median, right?
Yeah.
It's completely incomprehensible.
I never understood how that works. But yeah, that seems like it's a stupidly high number. Like, there's no possible way.
But it sounds like they're just saying that he's pretty smart, right? But like, 190 is like impossible.
Yeah, he's 5,000. Well, he's smarter than a supercomputer, apparently. So
apparently,
it's slim and long limbs end in broad flippers. They are used for swimming gracefully in lakes.
Flippers. What about seal?
Gold duck, actually.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, this is pretty cool. So the red and blue one for gold duck says, often seen swimming elegantly by lake shores. It is often mistaken for the Japanese monster Kappa. Kappa.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that thing before. It's pretty freaky.
All right,
interesting.
A few more here.
Although I'm sure if I Google it, I'm just gonna get the Twitch emote.
Yeah, that's all right. So by licking, it saps the victim's life. It causes shaking that won't stop until the victim's demise.
What?
Yeah, that's cruel.
Well, it's talking about licking. It's got to be Lickitung, right?
I'm pretty sure it's Haunter.
Yeah, it's Haunter.
Hey.
Haunter. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one.
That'd be insane if that's Lickitung.
It's like the most demonic creature.
So yeah. Well, like that's the thing, because I know that the Ghastly Haunter Gengar line uses Lick.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
Indeed.
All right, last one here. When viewed through a microscope, this Pokemon's short, fine, delicate hair can be seen.
Whoa.
That one is there's not much of a hint there. Short, fine, delicate hair.
This is a stumper.
Yeah. Give me like 20 more seconds, and I'll throw out a random Pokemon.
Hey, you better not be on Google right now.
I have the hands off the keyboard. Okay, cool. But no, okay. I'm gonna go back with my Rattata because I have no idea.
Mew.
Oh,
Really?
Mew has hair?
Yeah, apparently.
I never knew that.
I thought that the microscope part, like by a stretch, is like really is like the only hint there is.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
See, I thought briefly about the legendaries and like Mew and Mewtwo, but I thought they would like story exposition. Isn't Mew like reborn from some sort of ancient DNA?
Isn't that Mewtwo? Or is Mewtwo...
Mewtwo is a clone of Mew.
Right.
That's been like altered or whatever by scientists.
But isn't Mew is like the ancient creature? It's like it's almost like God, right?
It's from what I understand, it's like basically the ancient Pokemon that all Pokemon sort of descend from. Like you can find the DNA of all Pokemon except Arceus in Mew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pokemon lore is like really crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's like like a super crazy Pokemon is just like super rare. Because like I think even in the game, its stats are really bad.
I talk about Mew.
Yeah,
They're not bad. They're actually, if it were just Mew and no Mewtwo, it would be one of the in the game. But because Mewtwo exists, Mewtwo is just like strictly better than Mew.
yeah. All right, I might have got mixed up with something else because I remember watching like a competitive history on Mew, and I remember something about its stats being bad, but that was a while back. But yeah, that was Who's That Pokemon?
I was going to ask, do you know what the 83rd Pokemon is?
The 83rd one,
Yeah.
off the top of my head, not now. I did have the order memorized at one point, but
Oh my goodness.
I don't anymore. It's been
For the record, it's Farfetch'd.
cool.
I looked it up. I was curious if you knew that. I only know like a couple of them, I think. Sorry. I only know a couple of them. I think, isn't Pikachu 25?
Yes, that sounds right.
That sounds vaguely correct, yeah, but I wouldn't.
But it seems so weird that Pikachu's their flagship and he's like not like in 10 or something, you know. It is pick a random one. Imagine if he was like number 37. Like how boring would that be?
Do you think they intended for Pikachu to be like the flagship Pokemon?
Good question.
That is a really good question. I'm gonna have to say yes because he's the Ash's like main companion.
Right, but that's for the anime cartoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Pokemon existed before that in Japan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, do you guys know what the first Pokemon they developed was?
I believe it was Rhydon.
Yeah, it was right on.
I remember seeing like concept art way back, or sorry, from way back. I didn't see it back in the day, but I remember seeing it. I think Rhydon and there were some other ones that were like really high on the list.
Interesting.
Did y'all see? I'm pretty sure y'all have seen the unused ideas they had for Pokemon, or like the sprites or something.
I have seen them at some point. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's that
them.
gold dump that was found.
Yeah. Like I think there was like an evolution for Ditto where it had like a spiky head or something like that. It was pretty, like it just looked like a Ditto, but it just had one spike sticking out.
Yeah, there was a lot that were like really kind of creepy or scary. You'd think like Pokemon are kind of cutesy nowadays, but in the beta version, they were like kind of crazy.
For sure.
They went over some sort of some makeover to, I guess, to release to kids because it's more like a kid-oriented game. But Raichu was like had like horns, like it was like demonic or something. It was spikes and stuff.
I think I remember hearing that it was like supposed to be a evolution of Raichu.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Named Goroshu.
Like a third tier of Pikachu. Interesting.
Yeah, but now they have Pichu. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's any Pokemon that are 4 tier. I remember back in the. Oh no, because like it's a divergent path. Like I'm talking like just one stack.
Yeah.
I remember back in elementary school, my friend told me, yeah, Charizard evolves into charcoal, and Blastoise evolves into Rainer, and Venusaur evolves into Venusaurus. And I was like, whoa, dude, that's crazy.
Venusaurus was such a funny idea.
Yeah.
Like the fusion, like a DBZ fusion. Because it was in the anime, right?
Yeah, they actually did put in the anime. I forgot like what the episode was. I think it was like some sort of spooky one.
Yeah, like, I think it was an illusion from the Gengar line.
Yeah. Like it was a hallucination or something.
Yeah. I wonder, did the rumor about Venusaurus, was that before or after the show?
That's also a good question. It'd be cool if it was before.
Yeah, like it's just a fan theory, and they're like, let's take that and let's put it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
CC, do you have a question for TiKevin?
I do have a question. TiKevin.
Yes.
What's your deal?
What's my deal?
Yeah. What's your deal, dude?
My favorite fast food deal is usually a Crunchwrap combo.
I just had Taco Bell.
Nice.
Top tier.
So usually when someone asks like, "What's your deal?" It's usually like more of like an aggressive question,
Right.
and I kind of like to see how people respond to it when you ask them like just in a general. I heard it in an interview once, and the guy was like, "What?" it puts people on edge. It's like I'm not being aggressive. I just want you to answer in your own way. Like, what's your deal, dude?
I really like expanding knowledge about the original Pokemon. If you'd like to say like what my deal is, so I like documenting the NSC stuff, and I am probably going to work on blue and red glitchless soon, because I really want to have that task thoroughly documented. Nobody's done with instant text, like I said earlier. There's all sorts of other optimizations we know about now, so it'll be fun to crank that out. And
Nice.
Yeah, I like people enjoying getting into Pokemon speedrunning, so I've done a lot of like beginner guides for Pokemon Yellow and things like that to try to help people get acclimated to speedrunning. Trying to make the
That's good.
Pokemon speedrunning community something that people can be excited about, like take seriously as a speedrun, and also, just enjoy watching.
That actually reminds me of something I wanted to ask you really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the obvious like starter Pokemon, what are like the major differences between Yellow and then Red and Blue?
So there's the instant text thing does not work in Yellow. They patched that in Yellow, which is one of the reasons you could say, well, it's probably not in developer intended because they patched it. But if you go off developer intent, then you get into things like the badge boosts, and then you end up playing the game at all. So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so there's the instant text difference. There's color lag, which I famously described at SGDQ. Yeah. When we had 2 games in controller, red, blue, yellow. So the difference there is in red, blue, it was designed for the SGB and the original Game Boy, so it doesn't take advantage of colors in palettes. It only minimally uses colors. And when they developed Yellow, they then had to take the engine they'd already written and slam colors into the old engine. So they didn't like rebuild the engine to make use of colors. They just kind of mashed the concepts together and created they created this Frankenstein engine that is really slow at rendering palettes because it has this lag associated anytime it switches palettes. So palette switching costs like 5 frames, and it happens all the time and causes these really minute lags between red and yellow that are really annoying, or also useful if you know how to take advantage of them in the red yellow 2G1C run. So those are cool. So instant text. There's that. Starters, the rival battles, the lots of trainer AI things. So one of the main things at the end of the game is agility is super effective against Nidoking because agility is psychic type and Nidoking is affected heavily by psychic types. So Pokemon that know agility, spam agility on Nidoking in red, and you can just set up for free on a bunch of the endgame battles because their AI is bad. In yellow, they fixed a bunch of the AI and they gave fewer Pokemon agility at the beginning of battles. So coincidentally, Nidoking is much less free to set up in the endgame. So yellow's
okay. Then
go ahead.
Gives you some more problems. So it gives you more problems.
Yeah.
Like you.
So yellow has this endgame gauntlet we call it, like the crit gauntlet, whereas red has like after you get through black belt in Giovanni's gym, you have basically nothing else that can kill you if you want to win the game. There's some like speed strategies to save like, very small amounts of time, but nothing that you can't play around. And in yellow, there's a bunch of stuff that you actually can't play around and you just die. So So those are like the main differences between red and yellow.
Cool.
You've made a lot of appearances at
I've gone
GDQ
to
lately.
Yeah, I've gone to the last 3
You've
of
been
them.
at the. Go ahead.
We did.
Yeah, we met at GDQ. But you were on a panel and you were at GDQX, like
Yes.
on main stage. You've
Yeah,
been
so
the busy boy.
SGDQ, I was on the TAS panel with a barely working throat.
Mhm.
I had a terrible cold earlier in the week, but I did manage to get out what I needed to say on TAS panel without too much difficulty. And then really late at night, that night was the red yellow 2G1C run, and I commentated that, which I ended up doing a lot of the commentary for that because I have a lot of experience commentating Gen 1 games. And it worked pretty well because Migastas has a ton to focus on doing both red and yellow at the same time. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, GDQX, which was the TwitchCon special event they did this year, I was showing off the Pokemon Yellow No Save Corruption Pass that we did. Which is... Oh,
What did
man.
you think of GDQX?
I can get into that. It's a good question to ask because it's a new event. Nobody had tried doing anything like that before at TwitchCon. I felt like the part of it that was managed by GDQ was a classic GDQ experience. It's exactly like Games Done Quick at any other event. And it was really fun, and I really enjoyed being there and doing my tasks. The parts of it that were managed by Twitch were highly commercialized and really boring, in my opinion. It's not really my crowd. They had all
Right. But what parts, like you said the parts that were
of course.
commercialized by Twitch, but like, can you elaborate on that?
You have like a whole main floor of different games that they're basically just advertising to you. So it's not quite so much you're there in the main game floor to interact with those streamers and play. It's just like streaming everywhere, new games and esports stuff, all sorts of merchandise that you can buy. So that part of the event is very not so much. That's more for like the community people there who are there to find games to play with people and meet with other people who play the games they play. So that wasn't so much there for a streamer. I did enjoy a meeting, and I was talking about some other non-Pokemon streamers there, meet and greets. The other problem they had with TwitchCon was they had a huge line. There were like 16,000 people there, and when I needed to get my badge in the morning, I waited 3 hours in line to get into the event. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I walked 21 miles over the weekend at TwitchCon because it was so big of an event, and so many people were there. Yeah. So it's really not my kind of event in terms of TwitchCon because I like just to hang out with speedrunners who want to learn more about a specific old game and bond over that. But the larger TwitchCon community is very much about every different kind of gaming imaginable and tons of people, which is not necessarily my crowd.
Right. I get you. That's fair. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I like GDQ so much is that everyone's there for speedrun stuff. You know, it's not just some broad gaming convention.
Yeah, if you go to a GDQ,
specifically speedrun
you will
stuff,
find people playing the game that you're most interested in and playing it at the highest tier of possible gameplay. I've talked to all sorts of people playing different games I've heard about who are just like the top tier at these random games that you never would have expected people to be researching so thoroughly. But if you go to a GDQ and you have a game like that you're interested in, you will find it, and you will find people who know everything there is to know about it. It's so cool.
Indeed. I was going to ask you, I don't really know what kind of question I was going to go with this, but you're sort of over the Pokemon speedrunning Discord and sort of community. Where do you feel that the spin-off games
We do have a lot of
land
like
that?
channels for spin-off games in our Discord, but some of the communities are large enough that they kind of need their own area for discussion, even larger than just a channel in our room. Snap is like this, from what I understand.
Right.
The Pokemon Mystery Dungeon community is very much their own thing, also. So, and I don't think this is a bad thing at all, because by managing their own subsection of the community, they can help make resources for the games that are more targeted to them or relevant to them. I'm sure the gameplay for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is nothing like what you do for the main series of Pokemon games. So I think that's good to an extent. Now, the difficulty from what I see is that it also means that people aren't trying out the side games as much as they might otherwise, I think. Because, like, one example is we do have people talking about Hey You Pikachu in the PSR Discord. But it's not serious discussion, because nobody takes side games very seriously.
Right.
The PSR Discord, because most of them have their own communities that take it seriously. So, an example of the flip side of that, though, is that the trading card game for the original Game Boy has a pretty active community in our PSR Discord, and they manage all that in the TCG channel in PSR Discord. So we kind of have the whole spectrum.
Okay. One of the things that, I guess what I was gonna ask was, like, sometimes it feels like because we're separated that we almost don't have that crossover, you know, because like Pokemon Snap, I don't think gets a lot of sort of crossover from the regular Pokemon speedrunning and vice versa. Which is sort of a downside of us being kind of splintered in that way.
A large part of that too is because
it's a shame.
The Stadium and Stadium 2 communities don't talk quite so much in our Discord. And I think that's because most of the people in the PSR Discord have either a GameCube or the DS capture setup, because they need those for the main series games. So the games that don't have capture setups for that, people don't as often have a way of playing them, and therefore you get less discussion, less new innovation, and of course less people flowing over to Snap with not having a console for it.
Right. Yeah, because we don't really do a whole lot of emulator stuff. So it's a shame, though, because I think we could really use some of the minds. You know, like you're a big Tasser, and you've mentioned other people like Typhlosion and GFX, I think was one of them, and and a couple other people. And it's like, I wish we had that kind of community. We can't just like ask you to come over.
And that's another thing. It's really interesting.
Oh well.
Getting into a position where I am known for making good documentation of Pokemon Yellow games. I get requests from other taskers for, what if we synced this task on console? What if we made Mr. Wint's Ace task work on console? And then I have to backtrack and be like, okay, we can't quite do that yet. Slow down. We have to do this thing, and we have to do this other thing. I don't know how to do any of it. It's really interesting having to manage not just what the projects that I want to work, but people coming to me and asking where we can apply talent to other games, because the task community is huge too. There's so many people interested in so many games with passing. So, like, one project I'm looking into, a way of doing a more accurate emulator for like task level gameplay in a web browser, that it can be more accessible to more people. And I'm sure that same thing would be useful for N64. We don't have a way of doing that for you for N64, even remotely. There's no base emulator even to start off with. We're lucky enough to have somebody already working on one for a Game Boy game. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there is a
It's just-
lot to still
so many
work on
obstacles.
with trying to play games at the level we do for speedrunning, which requires such thorough investigation of how the consoles work. And it's going to be interesting to see, like down the road, if certain things get improved on that front.
Yeah. Well, as long as we have people like you who keep dedicating their time and their efforts to learning more about the games and about the emulators and maintaining that kind of stuff, I think I see a bright future for
Thank you.
speedrunning,
Yeah, that's
Pokemon
cool.
speedrunning, all that stuff. So, well, with that, I think it's been a bit about an hour. We can go ahead and wrap it up. Is there
Yeah, we definitely
anything you want to
need to plug some stuff, if at all
Anything coming up
possible.
that you're doing?
So I have a YouTube channel, TiKevin83.
Sure.
That's a thing. If you like the
Right.
idea of a Pokemon Yellow task, there is a no save corruption task I've done on there in 10 minutes and 5 seconds. No save corruption's the category where we don't use save corruption at the beginning of the game to beat it instantly. We find other glitches that don't involve hard resetting the console, beat it that way. And then there's also a glitchless task in an hour, 36 minutes, and 44 seconds on my YouTube channel. And that's actually, I think, my most popular video is that glitchless task. Because it's so crazy, the difference between the 1 hour, 54-minute run the gunner had and the 1 hour, 36-minute run that the task can do. It's almost a 17, 18-minute difference. And then I have a Twitch stream that I do stream on somewhat regularly, at least once or twice a week, if not more. And alternating between RTA and task stuff. Because if I get too into one or the other, I just get bored. Run out of things to look at too. And
That's fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
that's most of what I do. And you can find me on my Discord, which you can get to through my Twitch channel. You can find me on Twitter. It's definitely possible to find me if you contact me. Yes.
Yeah. TiKevin83. Right. So pretty easy to find you. All right, man.
Thanks, Squidbird. Thanks, CC.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Had a blast.
All right, folks.